Grant Williams has been traded to Dallas. The Celtics get back nothing. Actually, a couple of draft picks. What is Brad Stevens doing? What does this mean for the Celtics moving forward? We're going to try to break it all down right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And I'm here for you every Monday through Friday with a free, fresh podcast drop directly to your device, you subscribers, you everydayers. All you got to do is open up your favorite podcasting app, click subscribe. The show gets dropped right to your device when it is published. Hit the YouTube page, ring the bell, hop into the comment section, get notified when the video drops there. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I used to play once upon a time. Today's podcast, all about Grant Williams, who was traded in a sign and trade to Dallas. The Celtics got back second round picks and a traded player exception. So let's try to figure out exactly what is happening here. We're bringing back our buddy, good friend, Tom Westerholm. Tom, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. That was the closest I've ever come to being introduced like Eddie Palladino, like Tom. Like I like that. So, let's try to add to that next time. I'm yes-anding here. Let's draw this thing out.
Let's do just one big. How would we do that, Tom Westerholm?
What? Yeah.
You got that Wester. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
I'll do. Like you just hit a 3-pointer or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you know who's not hitting 3-pointers for the Boston Celtics anymore? It's Grant Williams.
It is.
Grant Williams, sign and trade to Dallas. It's a 3-team deal. San Antonio picks up Reggie Bullock in this whole thing, and an unprotected pick swap down the road in like 4 or 5 years or whatever it is.
Right.
That's a 2030. So it's 6 years down the line.
Victor Wembanyama's son is really what they're going to do.
Right. So the Spurs come in, they pick up, they park a salary in their cap space. They get an unprotected first round pick. Basically, 6 years from now, when Dallas is going to completely implode, and the Celtics get 2 second-round picks in 2024 and 2028, and they get a second-round pick swap in.
What a phrase! Like
we are in the world where there are second-round pick swaps now. Second-round picks. I've been saying on the podcast, second-round picks have become increasingly valuable, and now a team, they're not even giving up their second-round pick; they're now swapping. So whatever. Initial reactions, Tom, to this trade where Grant Williams is out the door for second-round picks.
Well, I mean, look.
And by the way, I should say a $6 million approximately traded player exception.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction to it was just like, we know what Brad wants to do here, right? We know he's been restocking these cupboards. We know that like these second round picks, like all those are nice little pieces that you can throw into trades. And, like it doesn't feel like much coming back for Grant. But I think there was a report, but I do believe, I think it was either today, yesterday, the day before. I don't know. All days are the same at this point, but it sounded like the Celtics were gunning for 1 first-round pick for Grant. And that's like almost inevitably the thing that you're gunning for. Take your expectations down at least 1 big step and you might get it for the, in terms of draft compensation. So like, the Celtics are looking for 1 pick for Grant. Yeah, you're probably getting second-round picks if that's, kind of where you're going with that. Other initial reactions, like good for Grant, like I think,
sure.
Like I have always liked Grant Williams. Like, every dealing I ever had with Grant Williams, he talked too fast. He was a nightmare to transcribe, but he was
Yes.
like just okay. Like, honestly, him and Kyrie, probably the two worst dudes to transcribe.
Kyrie was the worst.
Because he talked fast and his thoughts never lined up with each other. Grant just talked too fast, like just crammed way too many words in.
Yeah.
But a nice guy, just like a pretty good dude. Always helpful, always always willing to talk about himself or other people. I think it was I think Jay King pointed that out. I think that's really well said. Like, yeah, like whatever you need, Grant will give you something for it. So yeah. So anyway, I'm happy that, this is life-changing money for him, man. This is a big old contract for that guy.
Yeah, man.
So that's cool, and I think he'll be good in Dallas. Like, I think he'll be walking into a situation where he'll be probably a starter, if not a starter, then a very high rotation player. Like, he wasn't probably going to get those minutes. I think this trade indicates that he just probably wasn't going to have the opportunities in Boston that he's going to have in Dallas. So, yeah, I mean, all around, like, I think it didn't feel like Grant was coming back as soon as the Celtics traded for Porzingis. Like, that just felt like, like I know there'd been rumblings that, maybe they'll keep him, but just kind of felt like a done deal at that point. So, yeah, I'm glad he's going to a situation that I think should work out pretty well for him.
So I found it interesting. Adam Himmelsbach in his write up here says a league source said Wednesday night that Boston did have interest in bringing back Williams, but that Stevens considered the players' wishes to go to a team that could offer more playing time when agreeing to the sign-in trade. And that's a big thing here, because one thing I wrote in on the Boston Sports Journal piece that I did, it felt like Joe Mazzulla had a hand either directly or indirectly in this deal, because we saw inexplicably to me how Grant kind of fell into deep doghouse territory.
Yeah.
And okay, so initially I thought, okay, you're sending a little bit of a message. He never went back to Grant in a meaningful way, not soon enough. So it felt like I see accusations of, well, the Celtics are starting to get cheap, which they're not. Yes, this deal saves them in, I think, salary and taxes, $40 million. So that $12 million that he had plus the luxury tax and all that, it's an overall $40 million savings, which that's significant.
It is.
But would they have spent it if Joe Mazzulla would have said, yeah, I can see Grant playing 30 minutes a game next year? If he had said that, I feel like Grant would have been back at least for one more year.
I think that's right.
But I think Brad Stevens kind of was like, hey, are you going to play him or not? And if he's saying like, we'll see, then you know what? We're not going to spend $40 million in salary and taxes for a guy that's not going to contribute. It's like, you're not Steve Ballmer. You're not the Lacob family in, San Francisco. The Celtics can't afford to just say, fine, he's good. He'll be a depth piece. However often they go to him, This is all right. We'll spend $40 million in salary and tax, but you better play with them. You better use them. It's a parent telling a kid, we're not buying you this toy if it's just going to sit there. You're going to use it once and it's going to sit there in the corner. So no, we're not going to give it to you. I think that is a big reason why Grant's not here.
Yeah, we'll invest this money, but we're not going to waste it. Like, we're not going to just kind of throw it away. Right. Yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, like, I think, when you kind of look at the Celtics' big rotation, like, part of the appeal of Grant is that you can go super small with him if you need to, right? Is that he's like strong enough. And it just, Celtics have 3 centers now, all of whom are going to be getting significant minutes. Like, as much as going small ball 5 with Grant, yeah, like that's something you could do. You can go small ball 5 with other guys on this roster if you want to get really creative with it, right? Like if you want, you've got guys who can defend multiple positions. You've got, you've got a lot of the things that Grant can do. So yeah, you're not gonna like I said, you're not gonna throw the money away. I think I'm sure we'll get into this. I think there's gonna be reasons the Celtics do miss Grant, but I do think that they can certainly replicate most of the things that he does using other guys on the roster. So yeah, like you said, you go to Joe, you say, is he going to be like a big time rotation player? Joe goes either no or then it's just not going to be worth it for you.
We'll get more into this deal. We're still processing this. It's early. It's going to be an early release for the podcast. We're going to, so right now, what's coming up next? Can't tell you necessarily exactly, other than more analysis of this deal. I'm supposed to have something concrete, but you know what? I guess what are they losing? What are they losing without Grant? We'll talk about that next. First, today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. You know me, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I think therapy is very helpful, and it's helpful for everybody. However, I do understand that it's very difficult. Where you live should not preclude you from getting a good therapist. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I can't go to one of the people around the corner from me because it's not in my insurance or whatever. There's a ton of excuses. Now with BetterHelp, there are no more excuses. This is a great opportunity for you to hop on a video chat, on a text, on a call with a licensed therapist. No matter what you're trying to do, are you trying to overcome a long-standing obstacle? Are you trying to just get through a stressful time in your life? Do you just want to talk about something with somebody to get something off your chest? Anything that you need to do. And like I said, I've benefited from therapy a lot. So I understand the need. If you want to start, you can go to BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You're going to get 10% off your first month. You get yourself a licensed therapist. And this is an important thing. If you don't like the therapist, you can switch anytime, and there's no extra charge. So it's a great way to get yourself started, to find yourself somebody you can connect with, find yourself somebody that is on your wavelength, that understands you, and that's where you're going to get the most out of it. So give BetterHelp a try. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today. You get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. I want to thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Why not make Locked On NBA your second listen? Locked On NBA is going to get you all caught up. There's giving you a national perspective on this Grant Williams deal. I'm sure you're going to hear from the Dallas perspective and all of that. So let's get more into this. I wrote a column. I did a podcast saying, bring back Grant. Bring back Grant. Just do it. Don't worry about the second apron. This is the year to, I understand the need to, you don't want to limit yourself. I guess what I did when I said, just do what you got to do, is I ignored Brad Stevens' propensity for flexibility. He just is not going to put himself in a bind. He's always going to find the absolute maximum flexibility that he can get out of a situation. So if Grant's not coming back and the Celtics, aren't going to use him and all of that stuff, flexibility. You're going to stay below that second apron. They're going to find a way to stay below there. They're not going to play with all of the restrictions, even though the most restrictive of those aren't coming until next summer. They're just not going to mess with that right now. So I think the Celtics are this move makes the Celtics feel more unfinished than before. And I felt like they were unfinished before. You've lost now Marcus Smart, which even if you are one of those people who's saying, yeah, great, you lost, good, we need to move on from Marcus Smart. There is a certain grit level that he does take with him. Certainly. Grant is a versatile guy. That's a tough loss off the bench. I don't care what Mazzulla thinks or how he plays him. That is a loss. And it's not a type of guy that you're going to replace very easily. So there's got to be something, Tom, coming next.
I mean, I would think so. I think when you talk about the things you're losing with Grant, it's like not only are you losing, like that, like a little bit of 3-point shooting, like the versatility, all that stuff. Like, really think back to like who's going to guard Giannis now, right? Like who? Like you might have to face that guy in a playoff series, and man, like Al Horford's really good at it. But like if you face Giannis in a playoff series, like Al Horford, I think he'll be 37 by then. 30, like
yeah, he just turned 30. I'll look it up. His birthday's in June.
Okay, yeah. So
he just turned.
He's 36, 37, or 38. I don't remember which one it is, but he's
37.
He's 37.
So he'll be 38 if the Celtics go to the finals. He'll be 38 in the finals.
So if you're facing the Bucks in the in the Eastern Conference Finals, he's almost 38. You're saying to an almost 38-year-old, I need you to stop this freight train at like after a long, grueling regular season and playoff run. That's a tough loss. Like that letting Grant go is letting go of the guy who really bothers Giannis. He does. He's done it a bunch of times. He's done it repeatedly. He's done it during the playoffs. He's guarded Kevin Durant during the playoffs. Like this is that like, yeah, like you get all these savings and all this stuff, and you're preparing for next year, and all that stuff is great. But you're losing a guy who brings a lot of value in his own right and can be asked to do a lot of things. And I think you're right. I mean, it does feel like something else has to be coming down the pike here because, I think, I'm high on Sam Hauser. I've been high on Sam Hauser on this podcast many times, very repeatedly. Sure. But like your forward rotation now, behind the Jays is Hauser, O'Shea, Brissett. Like,
yeah, it's tough.
That's not a lot.
So I feel like there's a couple of things here as you're talking and I'm trying to picture how would they defend Milwaukee? How are they going to defend? They're not going to be able to do what they've done with Horford. Either Horford basically gets a pass in the regular season, plays no more than 20 minutes a game, still doesn't play back-to-backs. It's Porzingis and Robert Williams, and that's it. And Horford is basically your third big. And you ramp up Horford in March and April to get him ready for some playoff minutes, and you just say, you're our playoff guy. You're our guy. We're just putting you in bubble wrap for April, May, June. That's one way to do it.
And that way, by the way, puts a lot of pressure on Porzingis and Rob to stay healthy all year. So
yes,
here's hoping.
So that's tough. That's two guys who don't normally stay healthy. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. The other thing is that they're either going to have to play just a traditional drop coverage and hope that the length from Porzingis and the shot blocking ability from Rob is just going to be enough. They're just going to play drop coverage, and you just got to be good enough. You got to play it to a point where you're not giving up walk-in jump shots. You're giving up those mid-range shots, and you're living with the mid-range shots and all that stuff. And that might be fine. Maybe that works too. Or, and this is on the coaching, you gotta get creative. There's gonna have to be some level of, all right, what happens when our more limited options don't work? So do you go against Milwaukee? Let's play a 2-3 zone and just play Jaylen, Jayson, Rob, Porzingis, and Al, and just trees at the rim. You're not getting to the rim, Giannis. It's nothing but just big, long arms. Good luck. We're forcing you all to be jump shooters. You're gonna have to bury Boston with 3-pointers. It'd be a very interesting look. Damn, no one's getting to the rim against that lineup. But even if that's not the answer, the point is, the more versatility you take off the roster, and that's Marcus Smart, very versatile guy, can guard 1 through 5. Grant Williams can guard basically 3 through 5 and switch onto 1-2 to varying degrees of effectiveness, but isn't a complete like, oh crap, we're screwed if he does that, right?
Right.
So you're switching that big, rangy, switchy Celtics defense. It's gone. That's gone. They're not a switching defense anymore. They can't. Who's switching? There's nobody left to switch. Derek White's too small to switch beyond 1-2. Your switchy guys are your two stars, and you don't want to tax them too much. You get a bunch of bigs. This is going to have to be a different kind of defense.
It is. And you know who, I mean, we just said it, but like, you know who gets a lot of pressure from this is Robert Williams, because like Marcus Smart was the defensive player of the year, right? Like this team was a monster defensive team under Ime Udoka. Like Rob now has to be the anchor of the defense. Like there's not going to be a guard barking out all the instructions anymore. There's not going to be like, you know, a superstar defender. Like this is now like, this is a lot for Rob. This is going to be like, he, you know, like, okay, you were at all NBA, defensive player in the past. Like you need to do it again, and it needs to be even better this time. And there's going to be more responsibility on you this time. And it's not so much that losing Grant does that. It's like what you're saying. They're not that same big switchy team. They're not that same big physical team that just kind of like just pounded you on the defensive end. Like it's got to be a little more individually driven now. Jayson Tatum is a excellent defender. He's got to be excellent this year. Derek White is an excellent defender. He's got to be excellent this year. Robert Williams needs to be a cornerstone defender, and he needs to be healthy long enough to do that. So yeah, it's I think more than anything, like this, the way the Celtics have gone this offseason defensively is gonna land, I think, a lot on his shoulders, assuming he's healthy, and the Celtics definitely better hope that he's healthy.
Whew, boy. This is, I don't know, man. I'm struggling to see how the Celtics got better. And that leads me to another question, which I'll get to in just a second. First, I just want to remind everybody that the Locked On Celtics podcast still 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Unless something happens over the weekend, I'm back to doing a mailbag Monday next week. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag. I'll answer your questions, get you ready to start the week on a good note. And then you go from there. Whatever happens, we'll start doing more reviews and stuff. There's a lot to talk about now. New elements to this team. And look, Tom, when I say this team feels incomplete, like, there has to be another element here. Brad's gotten now what, six second-round picks. He traded down in the draft and got 5 picks, 1 player and 4 outright picks in the second round. They picked up 2 more second rounders here. So it's 6 plus a second round swap. Plus they have all their own picks. Plus they do have some incoming picks, elsewhere. They have a ton. They have a ton of draft picks at their disposal. Now, I don't know what kind of player packages they could put together. They got that traded player exception. Do you think the Celtics, I don't know where they go from here this summer, but there is a possibility. There is something somewhere this summer that they can do. I just don't know what it is. Or do you say, okay, you just need to make one more signing because you need to get to 14.
Yeah.
They're at 13 right now. You make one more signing, you get to 14. And then you just head into the trade deadline. You go from December 15th through February and you say, all right, what works, what doesn't? Let's try to make a deal mid-season. Rather than put that next step now, you say, all right, well, let's kind of figure out where the weaknesses really are and address that during the season.
Yeah, I think you could kind of, I don't want to call it spin it that way, but like that, that you could see that being the argument. If you do that, I think there's some holes here. Like, I think that this, I mean, I do think it's possible that Brad got all these second round picks because that will give him more flexibility in the draft. That'll give him the ability to kind of move around a little bit. That he's just, like we said, just kind of restocking the cupboards. And hey, second rounders are useful. You can sign them to cheap contracts or two-way deals if you want, like all this stuff, right? I do think that that's possible. But like, if that's your plan, I mean, you don't have like you're putting a lot of pressure on guys who haven't had that pressure applied before. Like Peyton Pritchard, congrats. You're a rotation player now. Like you have a major role on this team. I hope you're ready. Sam Hauser, you better be ready, my man. Like O'Shea Brissett, like you better be ready. Like these guys, like Sam Hauser, you can't go cold again. Like you can't have a 28% month. Like you can't do that. So, I mean, look, I think it's certainly possible that the Celtics are just kind of, gonna sit tight the rest of the rest of the offseason. And I mean, look, I feel like we're in a weird spot with second round picks right now where we don't necessarily know what they would acquire for you, right? Like if you packaged, like we kind of know what, four first round picks, you might get a star. 3 first round picks, you could get like a pretty decent player. 1 or 2, you're still probably getting like a pretty solid rotation guy. Second round picks, I just don't know how you bundle those up and like what you get for them at this stage. So like that's kind of a weird one. And then also if you're the Celtics, I think the other thing that confuses me a little bit about this trade is like okay, Reggie Bullock is a free agent after this year, right? Is he not a guy that you could potentially have used this year? Like he shot like 38%. I don't know. It's the more we talk on this pod, the more questions I have about this deal. Like I thought I had a pretty good sense of it going in, but now I'm just kind of like, man, this is a weird one.
It is a weird one. And it's tough to figure out what I feel like this is just the final picture will explain where we are right now, right? It's too early. We're trying to figure out what the movie means in the middle of the movie. Okay. And I just don't know that there just has to be more. I also think that
just to use that analogy before we move too far past that analogy. So we're hoping that this is Knives Out, not Lost season 1. Is kind of like where we're at.
If you say so.
Okay.
I haven't seen neither.
Oh, okay. Well, I assume somebody listening will have seen one or the other. So
I'm going to assume that was an awesome analogy.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm taking the analogy man belt for today.
Let's try that again. Give me the line again. I'll say.
We're hoping that the Celtics offseason, or that where we're at right now, is Knives Out, where it will resolve itself later in a satisfying way, as opposed to Lost season 1, where you thought it was going to resolve and you were hoping it was going to resolve, and then it just never did.
Perfect. Exactly.
Thanks,
that's Tom.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm
glad if you just did all that other stuff, maybe I would have just rolled with it in the first place. Maybe Tom, this is what the league intended for this new CBA to do. Maybe this is just what the league wanted. And we've been saying it from the beginning. I did multiple podcasts with Keith Smith. People have been doing podcasts. I've been listening to a million of them with other CBA experts, and the whole, I think, overarching theme has been parity. The league wants to take away good players from good teams and put them on other teams that are maybe in the middle. This is maybe a perfect example of what the new collective bargaining agreement was intended to do. The Boston Celtics, a loaded roster, I think you can say that their roster was pretty loaded, generally speaking, heading into the offseason. They're one of the favorites. They're the betting favorite on FanDuel. At least they started the day that way. And then you got the Mavericks, who, have struggled, despite having Luka and all this other stuff. And here they are with some money to spend. The Celtics are an expensive team. And they say, we have to make a decision. We have to make a financial decision that we wouldn't have made in the last collective bargaining agreement. Under the last deal, if this happened a year ago, we wouldn't be talking about a trade like this.
Right.
They would have just matched Grant Williams. They would have just signed him. They would have paid a little more in luxury taxes, and that would have been the end of it.
Right.
And it wouldn't have been 40 million. It would have been whatever it is. They just would have said, hey, we're paying it. We're rolling with it. Not a big deal. But now the new CBA comes in, and it's like, hey, not only are you expensive, we're taking away options for you. We're taking away ways to build your team. We're making it harder to adjust flexibility, like I said, with Brad Stevens. We're making all of that stuff more difficult. So here's Grant Williams, a good player who can be your seventh man or sixth man or hell starter, like you said before, on some teams. Very viable, not like it's not a reach to say that. And the Celtics say, we just can't put ourselves in that position. So here you go, Dallas, Grant Williams, and you get back 3 second-round picks, 2 of them outright and 1 pick. That's it. That's it. That's what the new CBA is meant to do. Sorry, Boston. Sorry, Milwaukee and Phoenix and all these other teams. Either you're going
to Milwaukee kept their guys, so not that sorry for Milwaukee.
Yeah, but they didn't keep everybody. Right. And how long are they going to keep them?
For sure.
That's going to be the question. This is like a last gasp. I wanted Boston to do what Milwaukee did, and they instead chose to go a different direction. It cost them Grant Williams, and it may work out because I think there's another knives out move to be made. But, right now in this moment, July 5th, I don't know what that is right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is tangentially related, but I also think it's tough for this. It's a tough hit for the Celtics too. Like just aesthetically, the CBA is trying to prevent these super teams, but and trying to promote parity. The Celtics, like Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Grant Williams, Robert Williams. These are all guys they drafted, and like to lose Smart and Grant Williams the way they're losing them. I mean, the CBA is breaking up a team whose core was mostly built via the draft.
Yes.
Like that's
the hard part.
That's a tough thing, man. Like that like you got all this homegrown talent that you went out and drafted, and it wasn't like they only had lottery picks. 2 of those guys were lottery picks. Well, Smart was too, I guess. But like, you get Rob at the end of the first round, you get Grant, in the 20s. That's good scouting. That's good team building. And yeah, you did it a little too good, guys, because now you don't get to keep some of your good players. That's a tough hit.
That is a tough hit, and that's one of the criticisms of this new CBA is that they're sitting there saying the owners, the league, they're reacting to they reacted to the Warriors. They basically reacted to the Warriors.
Sure,
and that's a team that. Yeah, you not only have the homegrown talent, but they've been able through mid-level exceptions to say, we're going to keep adding talent to that. And they've been lucky. They've been able to keep the guys that they have. Okay, fine. That's an outlier, but okay.
A significant outlier. We shouldn't downplay what an outlier the Warriors were either, because it was like injuries made guys underpaid, which like brought, which gave opportunities to do other things. That was a lightning in a bottle, once in a lifetime type thing.
Yeah. And so here we are with this new deal. And I think teams just said, well, we don't want you to be able to buy your way into, being at the top of the league for way too long. Everybody wants a shot. But the problem is, I don't know that they must have thought it through because they're all smart people. They just might not, they just don't care that it's homegrown talent. Whatever it is, you have to make the decisions. Like, congratulations for drafting these players. Maybe that's a punishment. Maybe what they don't want is OKC. I know OKC probably pushed for a certain change, but they don't want you to just keep tanking, draft, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're great. They want to make sure that the bad teams are struggling a little bit too. They put that salary floor rule in. You got to spend 90% of the cap. If you have an expensive team, it's just whatever. It's indiscriminate. So the whole point of this CBA is to put everybody in the meat grinder. No one stays on top for too long. No one stays on the bottom for too long. Everybody just kind of cranks along in the middle, and then it just spits out. It's like the little lottery game. All the balls are bouncing around, and each year you go, bloop, and the number comes up, and you go, okay, this year, the Celtics, the Mavericks, the Pacers, and the Lakers are our contenders. And then that just kind of holds for a couple of years, and then everybody goes into the lottery again, and new balls come out. That's what the CBA is meant to do, and that's what we got to get used to. It's just going to be a big churn of you're a contender. Nope, now you're not anymore. Wait, now you're a contender again. And it's breakneck speed, and maybe fans will take to it. I don't know, but that's what it is.
Except if you can employ Victor Wembanyama, because everything else you and I have talked about this. Everything else is going to be parity. But if you've got that one transcendent superstar, if you can get him to stick with your franchise for a long time, you might build yourself a little dynasty just on the backpacking off one guy.
No, that's it. If you hit on that one guy, like a Jokic, and you make everybody around you better.
Absolutely. Oh that's my gosh, this CBA is built to make Jokic the greatest of all time.
Congratulations, NBA. You've now made Denver and San Antonio your two potential long-term cornerstones. Major TV markets. I'm sure they'll be fine.
Listen, man, those were two of my favorite travel spots. You got the Riverwalk, and you got all the mountains and everything. You got scenery for days. It's great.
I like those cities. I like
those cities.
I haven't been to San Antonio a ton, but I did like the Riverwalk. It's nice. No disrespect. No disrespect. But also, tiny market. Denver, not the biggest TV market. Also, they can't even watch their own damn games.
They can't even watch their games.
I mean, come on.
What a disaster. They've got the future greatest player of all time, and they can't even watch him. You hate to see it.
And people didn't want to vote him MVP.
Crazy.
Because they didn't want to have that discussion. Whatever. All right, anyway, so Grant Williams, we'll process this. Tomorrow's the Friday show. We'll figure it out for tomorrow. Maybe there'll be more Grant Williams. I'm sure there'll be more details that come out, and we'll see where it goes. But right now, still tough to wrap our heads around everything. I guess to sum up, CBA sucks.
But Grant negotiated it, so really, there's only so much complaining the Celtics can do.
Well, the Celtics. I mean, Grant got his money. Grant got his money. He very clear. Hey, Rafi. Grant got his money, and he didn't. Whatever. He's fine. He's not married to Boston. He's from North Carolina. Right. He's just kind of chilling. And so, the CBA sucks for Boston. We don't know what's next, and whatever. Brad Stevens is hoarding second-round picks like it's the zombie apocalypse, and it's going to sustain him through survival. I don't know. All right, Tom. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
And that'll do it for our show. Thank you so much. Hopefully that all made sense. It's a lot. It's a lot to process. So thank you all for watching, you everydayers. Thank you so much for being there every Monday through Friday. Thank you so much. I would love it if you also now shared the podcast, tell your friends and family that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.